Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to share my long-term review of the Mini 5 Pro. I've had this drone since it was released back in September, I think. So it's been 6 months already or something like that. Now in terms of the durability and how that has held up over all these flights, I have crashed it twice and I've also lost this drone. Now for these crashes, one of them was in a forest with a very low light, so I don't really blame the drone for crashing into a branch like it did, because I think it's too much to expect for a drone to be able to avoid everything like that, especially small branches and stuff like that. I think it's just too much to ask for. Now for the second crash, it wasn't really any reason for the drone to crash the way it did. I was tracking sideways and I flew into a tree. It was a big tree with a lot of branches. I didn't feel like there was a justified reason for the drone to do that. So overall, the tracking experience on this drone has been really great. The only thing is that when you're tracking sideways or when you're backing up, that's when you need to be a little more cautious. Now when it's tracking you from behind or when it's flying forward, it's been extremely reliable, and I was really amazed by how well it did navigate those trees in the forest when I tested it. Now for the episode when I lost the drone, that is more of a mysterium. I still don't know even today what actually happened during that incident. And it's been fun to read all these comments on that video with all these different theories. I would say the best theory out there is the fact that something got caught up in the propeller before I took off. But the thing about that incident that I can't really wrap my head around, I tried to launch my drone from my hand before I launched it from the ground. I distinctly remember that when I tried to launch it, it wouldn't start the propellers. So I tried a couple of times. I usually have my controller on my arm. And when it didn't launch, or when it didn't start, I put it down and then I grabbed the controller with both my hands and I tried again. And then it for some reason started. And you can see on the footage as well that it's shaking a lot before it takes off. And when I did take off, I just lost full control. It just flew away by itself. I had no control whatsoever. And eventually it just crashed in the ocean. I have a full video you can check out if you want to see that. Now, but in terms of the other two crashes where it landed on the ground, the drone actually didn't take any damage at all. It's almost like I want to say that for durability, I want to give it a 10 out of 10. But also this has mostly to do with luck, what type of impact you get, what type of surface it crashes on, etc. If it's snow, whatever. Now, something else I have really appreciated on the Mini 5 Pro since I got it is the fact that they introduced the rotating gimbal. So you can now rotate the gimbal left and right, and you can also get true vertical shooting with this gimbal. Now I know there is a lot of hate-love relationship out there to the rotating gimbal. There's a lot of people calling it a gimmick. My theory is that that is mostly Mini 4 Pro people. But for me personally, I've been really enjoying the rotating gimbal. I really love the fact that you can change up your shots. You know, there's nothing wrong with having more options in how you can shoot with a drone. Now something else is the sensor on this drone. They did increase the sensor size from the Mini 4 Pro. It now has a 1-inch sensor, and the image quality is truly fantastic coming out of this drone. DJI has also optimized this sensor so that when you go up to 2x zoom, you won't lose out on that much quality as well as you would if you're cropping in 2x in post, for example. Which is fantastic because it really gives you more options on how you shoot with this drone. It just gives this drone more versatility, basically. Again, something I really do appreciate that they have upgraded on this drone is the internal storage. So on the Mini 4 Pro, for example, you had 2 GB of internal storage. You have 42 GB now on this drone. And that means that it has completely removed the need for a micro SD card, really. They also improved the battery life a lot. Now on the Mini 4 Pro, I remember getting around 20 minutes of flight time realistically. On this drone, I get somewhere between 25, maybe sometimes up to 30 minutes, you know, depending on the conditions. And those minutes do really add up when you're out flying. All of these things are major things when you think about what's important to have in a drone. At least for me, these things are essential. As I mentioned, the Mini 5 Pro is a small drone, so obviously that is a huge pro, but there's also a big downside to that. So if I go outside and I'm about to shoot something and I notice that there are some wind, I don't really hesitate to go back inside and grab my Air 3S or the Mavic 4 Pro, for example. That is the only limitation I've really felt with this drone. It's the wind resistance. But with that said, it can still fly in some wind. It's not like it's useless. All right, but let's clear some things up because I see a lot of confusion about the weight on this drone. Now, a lot of people are yelling and screaming about the fact that this drone is above that 250 gram mark. My drone is also above that 250 mark. And when a drone is above 250 grams, it puts it into the C1 category, which means that the restrictions on how to fly this drone changes up a bit. But in the EU, the Mini 5 Pro is allowed to deviate by plus minus 4 grams. So it's really not that big of a deal if you live in the EU. Now, the second thing I want to clear up is that this is also something I believed when I got this drone. I thought it had 2 LiDAR sensors at the front, but it turns out it only has 1 LiDAR sensor. Now, after the release of this drone, there was a couple of months that you were able to upgrade the drone. You got a C1 label in the box, and you could upgrade the drone from a C0 to a C1 drone. And the main reason you would want to do that is to increase the flight altitude. So you could go from 120 meters up to 500 meters. Now, sadly, DJI did remove these options. And I don't really know the reason why DJI decided to do that. Maybe you guys know, maybe you can tell me in the comments. But either way, it was a big pro that you were able to do that. So that is kind of a con that they did remove that option. Now, the second con I can think of is the way you attach the ND filters on this drone is not a great experience. Now, most of the other DJI drones, when you attach the ND filter, you screw them on. The way they have done it with the Mini 5 Pro and the way you attach it, it's not really that easy to put them on there, and it really puts a lot of strain on the gimbal. So that is also a con, I would say. And thirdly, you know, it would be the wind resistance. Maybe that is, depending on how you, I mean, what can you expect from a 250 gram drone, right? Now, something else I can also mention really quickly is that the Mini 5 Pro is also compatible with the newer RC Pro 2 that came with the Mavic 4 Pro. The great thing about this controller is that, first and foremost, it is a beast of a controller, and you can also tilt the screen like that, and the gimbal will also tilt on the Mini 5 Pro and go into vertical shooting mode. Now, sadly, this controller does not come in any Mini 5 Pro bundles. You have to get this separately, and it is extremely expensive. And the truth is that I rarely use this controller due to the size and the fact that it is so expensive, and I'm terrified of it. Now, something else I do like complaining about when it comes to these drones is the plastic cover. I've never been happy really with any of the plastic covers that DJI has released. This one isn't too bad, and I know it has nothing to do with the drone, so relax. Some guy was yelling at me last time I complained about this. Now, the reason I bring that up, I'm just going to give you guys an example. So Insta360 sent over the anti-gravity A1 drone, and this came in a box, and it's so easy to put it in here. You just fold the propellers and you're done. Now, the downside to this is that it does come with some extra size, but I much rather prefer something like this for the Mini 5 Pro. And at the same time, it's really secure and it's really safe in there as well. And if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, when I'm out shooting and I need to swap locations or anything like that, I never put the cover on. This goes straight in the backpack. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just how it is. But overall, great experience. If you're looking into getting this drone and you are on the fence, I wouldn't hesitate. This feels like an upgrade. The way that they upgraded to a 1-inch sensor, the fact that you're getting a rotating gimbal, and the increased flight time, the internal storage, it has so much good things going for it. It's crazy to think about how far technology has come. The quality that's coming out of 250 grams. You know, I used to watch movies with my dad when I was younger, and I asked him, we used to watch these adventure movies, and I distinctly remember asking him, watching these aerial shots, and I said to him that, you know, Dad, how do they get those shots? And I remember him saying, you know, they use a helicopter, and they have a whole crew, and they have all of that. And I distinctly remember thinking, like this, oh, I'm never going to be able to do that. Now, I didn't want to go too much into specs and stuff like that, because you can read spec sheets anywhere. This was more of a user experience kind of review. Alright, so we have a new DJI release on the horizon, the Avata 360, so don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Fly safe. Bye. Because you're gone, gone, you're all gone, gone for good this time.